I've talked about this before in a previous video, but my first big exposure to Japanese animation was watching Saturday anime on the Sci-Fi Channel growing up. This is where I first watched popular animations like Akira, Vampire Hunter D, Ninja Scroll, and so much more. One that I really liked and always remember was Iria Zerum the Animation. I love the animation, which I feel is the perfect example of mid-90s anime, and I really got into the technology and the world surrounding all the characters. Interesting looking devices like the big umbrella personal transport. I have no clue what this thing is actually called, but it looks dope as fuck. Or the sci-fi architecture, where skyscrapers and cities appear to be modeled after mushrooms. Almost every detail in the show is interesting to me. And then there's the action with our heavily armed protagonist and badass unstoppable villain. This show has it all and lives in my mind rent-free. Now as time went on and technology like the internet became a major part of our lives, shows like these became more known, but it was not so back in the day. So obviously, any video game created for an anime IP would most likely stay in Japan. But through ROMs, emulation, and English game patches by fans, people all over the world can play games that never left their respective shores. And that's what brings me to my video today, as I want to review Hyper Iria, released for the Super Famicom back in 1995. I actually had a friend tell me about this game existing, and it just sparked the old sci-fi Saturday anime feeling in my brain, and I had to play it. So let's take a look at this game and see if it holds up for me as well as the anime does. Hyper Iria is a side-scrolling action game that has you play as the bounty hunter Iria in her quest to track down a being known as Zerum. Zerum is an alien of unknown origin that leaves havoc everywhere it goes. Accompanied by Bob, Iria's digital friend that doubles as the game's compass, you must find Zerum and eliminate it. The game's plot consists of just brief conversations between Iria and Bob and nothing more, which honestly I think is fine because this is an action game, so the focus should definitely be shifted more to the gameplay side. But unfortunately, the gameplay, which looks great on paper, has one dramatic flaw. But let's break it down first. Iria has an arsenal of primary guns and secondary weapons at her disposal. You can rotate between 3 main guns and 3 sub-weapons, which is awesome. In order to acquire them, you use points earned in stages to purchase them before the next stage. There are also sub-enhancements to buy, like the ability for a higher jump or the ability to float. Iria also has a melee attack, which varies depending on how you use it. There's a neutral kick while standing and jumping straight up, a more horizontal kick while jumping diagonally, a crouching kick, and a slide kick. Iria even has a double jump right from the start, which is pretty badass. I can't think of many games that just give you the double jump right out the gate. So circling back to what I said before, on paper, this looks like a really cool action game. But in practice, the whole experience is dragged down by how slow Iria is, especially when too much shit is on the screen and the frames start to drop. The jumps are very floaty, and it's actually fucking tough to jump forward or backward. You also have to manage some kind of momentum, at least I think you do, because sometimes I get a normal forward jump, and sometimes I barely jump forward at all. But too many times I just end up neutral jumping. But the lack of speed Iria has is just the worst. She does have a dash, but the way enemies spawn in, you'll just end up running into them. So it's best to just use the dash when you're backtracking. Describing gameplay is always the hardest thing for me to do in these videos, because the only way to fully understand this is to play it yourself. The best way I can describe this whole thing is imagine playing Super Metroid, but Samus is at 75% speed. You get the sense that this game could be really dope, but it's being held back by an odd design choice. I also found that the sub-weapons felt far more useful and effective than the primary guns. Like, these fucking grenades are just super awesome. They land multiple hits and can be ricocheted off walls to hit enemies that are in weird spots. They're just the best. Speaking of enemies, there aren't too many, just about a base set of 4 or 5 with color variants. Not much of a rogues gallery to fight against. We got this android dude named Fald that looks just like Sector from Mortal Kombat, and we got this buff-ass robot that just goes by Neil. Neil the human-killing robot. With a name like Neil, you could just tell that human killing is his 9 to 5. Robot is probably just a Twitch streamer at night or something. We also got some bosses and 1 or 2 sub-boss fights, like this alien that throws up its inside butt mouth to shoot projectiles at you, or Bouncy McGee here that vomits eggs at you. and this gooey head that jizzes out part of itself onto the floor. The devs had one goal, and it's that bosses need to be puking and coming all over this motherfucker. The level design in Hyper Iria seems odd at first, as it's one of those where the fuck do I go kind of games, but good old Bob is there to just tell you where to go. You may think at first that this may make it too easy, but it's not. Traversing stages is about as challenging as any other side-scrolling action game, so it's not a boon, nor is it a nerf. There is one weird thing that seemed to happen at random. The game actually has a different gameplay mode in the form of a shooter. Before each level, Iria and Bob talk as a way to give the player some kind of dialogue, story, basically kind of a mission briefing. They talk, then you go to the next stage. But sometimes, the next stage doesn't begin and you just start shooting shit on your screen. This doesn't always trigger, so I thought maybe it was stage specific, but no. Here's footage of me going through the same pre-stage without the shooting part occurring. What the fuck is up with this? Is this like some kind of random bonus section that happens before you start the stage? I've never seen something like this, nor do I know if it's supposed to be triggered every time or what. It's very odd. I think the game's graphics are fine. Not great, not terrible, just fine. I think Iria's neutral stance looks awesome, but the best sprite in the game is Zerum itself. Just a hulking menace with a good amount of detail. The game also has images that seems like they were pulled right from the anime, which are an okay touch, but it just makes me want to watch the show rather than play the game. The last thing I want to point out is how short the game is. Hyper Iria is just 5 stages long. I was able to beat it in about an hour and a half, so it's not really too difficult. But I can imagine buying this day one for $50 or however how much yen that is, and then beating it that quickly. I'd be pretty fucking pissed off. But then again, with all the speed issues it has, maybe that's a blessing. So I take it back. The length is not a complaint, let's just call it a feature. Hyper Iria is a game that could have been really good, but instead just turned out to be mid as fuck. Maybe the devs didn't have enough time or funding to work out their full vision, so they just had to do their best. I definitely feel the experience was a disappointment considering how excited I was to play it, but I guess that happens sometimes. I suggest just watching the anime, or the live action one. Either or, it's better than this game. Have you played Hyper Iria? What did you think about it? Feel free to share your thoughts. Thank you for watching.